So, as a recap from last the last two episodes, growing up in a single parent family and also a helping hand, which was the first episode, I've had some feedback and some experiences that a Singh from social media has wanted to share with you guys. So, I'm just gonna read that out for you as well. In regards to my experiences from the first episode, I can totally relate. I struggled to get a job related to my degree in engineering. I was employed for 4 months until I got some billing job, which was a stopgap. However, I did get some help. My dad got me some easy admin work at the company he worked for, at which I was a supplier for engineering companies, but it was just 1 week. However, my nanny put me in contact with a Singh who that was at their house who worked in the same engineering I wanted to work in. He got me an interview. I didn't get the job, but I did get help. Later on, I think my employment has been jammy as hell on a level though that the only occurrence I know where somebody helped for somebody for a job after uni. Oh, on a level, sorry, though, that's the only occurrence I know where somebody helped somebody for a job after uni. But it's lucky that my mama knows a lot of people in the Sikh community, so my nanny sees and knows everyone. Well, that's a bit more positive than obviously in relation to my own experience where I didn't really get any help whatsoever. So it's good to hear that somebody out there in our community did get help, even if it was from their own family members, really. But it's yeah, I think it's mainly the wider community. I think they tend to not want to help, but obviously with family's always going to be there, so they always try and help as much as they can, which is good. In regards to growing up in a single parent family podcast, so he says, I'm the same as you. I live with my mom and experienced similar things you mentioned, except it was 15 years ago when they divorced. She got a lot of crap from auntie as well as family. I think 110%. I think women 110% get it worse in Punjabi communities. My dad got nothing from the community. Later, he got remarried from a woman from India, and obviously everything gets ignored then. This happens to many, and this is annoying. Further supports for that stupid gender inequality. And it further supports that stupid gender inequality, sorry. My mum did get help from friends too. I think 1 out of 4 Marcy at the time were close. Divorce was looked at so differently then, and I think my mum and many others had to go through that tough life to make it easier to go through now. I see divorces nowadays. My fam literally live their lives with no shit, and that's how it should be. The marriage is a personal affair, as should the divorce be. That's very true. As for me, the child of a single parent household from age 11, I did get some weekly father time, but it's not the same. I never felt like I missed out either, though. I remember people always coming around asking if the divorce affected me, but it never did. My mom said I should go towards Sikhi more, and I did. I grew my hair and gave up meat. I think that's what helped me through it. So much as people call it a bad situation, I feel I had to go through it. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a bit similar to what my mum went through as well in terms of women getting a lot more slack than men after they get divorced from the community as well. People just I tend to end up blaming the woman as well for I don't know whatever reason that she didn't do enough, even if she put 110% in. The thing is, it's behind closed doors. Not everyone will know what happened, but the worst thing you can do is just blame your own gender for not doing enough, because if you were in that situation, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want people to say that to you, but they still end up doing it, which is ridiculous. Yeah, marriage is a personal affair. As I said, it's behind closed doors, and divorce is, personal as well. I don't understand why people get involved. It's none of their business. Yeah, as a single living in a single parent family, it's good that he this thing never felt left out. I mean, that's a very positive. So it's good, obviously, that he did feel left out. I mean, to be honest with you, when I did say that when I realized there was something missing, but then obviously after encountering the people that I was missing, and then realizing actually my life was probably better the way it was anyway. There's no change whatsoever, because it's never going to be any different. You kind of just learn to live with it and be like, yeah, this is what it is, and I should be happy for what I have and appreciate what I have, instead of maybe wanting something that maybe God took out for a reason. I don't know. It was just my feelings, my perception of my own experience. But yeah, maybe I just feel, to be honest with you, I got to a certain point where I didn't even care anymore whether there was a doubt or not in my life. So, and I still don't care. But it's things more like when you're younger. I think when you're going through your teenage years, I think that's when it was more prominent. So yeah, I'd like to thank the Singh for contributing and giving his feedback to, so we could have a little pre-cap on the last two episodes. So it's exactly the kind of thing I would love to have more from you guys, just in terms of feedback. And yeah, as I say, you don't have to record yourself. I know there's a lot of people who feel a bit nervous or a bit shy or don't know how they would sound. And to be honest with you, you're not going to know until you try. I've said this to people as well, but fair enough. I understand some people don't want to. When I first recorded, I felt like I sounded like an absolute idiot. So it's just something that happens. I mean, but yeah, I have no problem if someone wants to send me, or if any of you guys want to send me stuff that you've written and you want me to read it out, so people can listen to your experiences as well. And as time again I've said, you don't have to give your full name, or you can give your first name, or I will just call you a Singh or a Kaur, or I will just say you're an individual or whoever, in terms of what you want to, in terms of if you don't want to actually give your identity away. So that's completely fine, I respect that. But thank you for getting in touch. Hey guys, welcome to OKG. This is your host of Kaur. Basically, today's episode is going to be alcoholism in the Punjabi community. This is something the people have voted for, so it was voted for on Twitter, and it was suggested as well, which is great. I always welcome suggestions regarding topics that need to be raised. They need to have awareness raised about. So it's not something, honestly, that I really knew about that in much or in detail or had even experienced, because my own family don't drink. I don't drink. Some of my mates do, but they don't do it in such excessive terms that it can be, in such excessive measures that it can be deemed as alcoholism. And so I've never really had any first-hand experience, which is why I've had some volunteers who have contributed to this podcast, and you'll hear their stories, and some of them you'll hear recordings of them talking about it. So yeah, I mean, I tried my best. I hope I did justice raising awareness regarding this topic. I'm really sorry if I obviously don't know a lot about it. I did try to research it a little bit, but it's not the same as having people actually discussing their own experiences, because then you actually are most likely more able to relate to what they are saying, compared to if I just like gave you a couple of statistics and just some examples. So that's why it's really great to have these people on the show joining in. No, it's not live. Sorry, a bit of a throat. It's not live. But we obviously will try and do that more in the future. But at the moment, just got some recordings of Dr. Manjot and also Sanjiv Johal as well. So, and we've also got story from Mandeep, and also a Kaur as well, a fellow Kaur. So yeah, we'll be listening to that. Okay, so now we're going to be listening to our first contributor, his name is Sanjiv Singh Johal. And he's also going to be discussing some aspects of Sikhi in his thoughts about alcoholism in the Punjabi community.
Hi, my name's Sanjiv Singh Johal, and I thought I'd start this discussion on alcoholism, alcohol, and the Sikh community by introducing a long-held view of mine from a historical perspective, I suppose you could say. And this is supposition, and it is speculative. But the idea that booze-related excess stems from a sense of collective trauma, catalysed by the collapse of the Sikh Empire, seems particularly seductive to me. The important caveat, of course, being that prominent Sardars in Ranjit Singh's court were notorious drinkers. And, perhaps that's an overly romanticised idea, but ours is a community which has endured loss and oppression on a consistent basis since our very inception. Grief manifests itself in different ways, and it seems possible, to my mind at least, that drinking harmfully is an internalisation of pains historically endured. So the idea is that there exists a subconscious sort of pain and sense of despair and longing, and that picking up the bottle in some way is a reaction to that. Peer pressure isn't something that I'm going to touch on for too long, primarily because I think it transcends community lines. So kids growing up, going to school, going to university, it matters not so much, which community you belong to. People are always going to egg each other on and I suppose get on the booze. But from a personal standpoint, alcohol's always been prevalent where, whether it be in this country or, when visiting family back in Punjab. I remember one of my earliest memories is going to visit my Nana ji and Nanni ji, and I think I would have been maybe 5 or 6 years old, travelling with my mum. We got to their house. Mum gave me a bottle of I think it was sort of Russian vodka to give to my Nana ji, and the look on his face, just the happiness, was something that's always stuck with me. So I suppose booze has always been a big part of socialising and interacting with family members. Certainly, occasions, whether it be birthdays or anniversaries or weddings, tend to be, really indulgent. Some would say over-indulgent. And one thing that's always stood out to me is, whether it be, white British friends that come to these functions, they'll always make a point of saying just how almost outlandish some of these functions can be on account of, the booze consumed, and they're shocked by it, and they're also quite complimentary about it, I've got to say. But it is definitely a feature of social occasions that alcohol will be front and center, and it's been like that ever since I was a kid. I don't think there is a family untouched by the trappings of booze. Some, unfortunately, in some it's caused, destitution and all that, addiction, all that kind of stuff. But others have perhaps been more fortunate. But the idea, I mean, one of the reasons I suppose that I wanted to contribute to this podcast is that this is a discussion that typically takes place behind closed doors, and I think it's really important that there is a forum, a public forum, in which this can be discussed, because addictive behaviours, unfortunately it is something that has plagued our community, and people seem very reticent to talk about it. So I applaud you for making a podcast about this. This is a conversation that needed to happen a very long time ago, and the fact that it is happening now is pretty cool. But yeah, as I said personally, yeah, I've seen addictive behaviours at close quarters, and it's not pleasant. And yeah, just this forum is awesome. I'm starting to ramble, so I'll cut off here. But yeah, I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to to further contributions in this area and hearing different perspectives. But yeah, thank you very much. Cheers.
So I had another person who from social media called Mandeep who wanted to also write about his experiences and share his thoughts on alcoholism in the Punjabi community. So here's what he wrote. Ever since a young age, alcohol is sometimes that has always been there at wedding parties, etc. I mean, at a younger age, you never really know the impact it has. You always just saw older uncles dancing with a bottle on their head and having fun. It's only in the past few years where now I think about things more and examine the world around me that I realise how toxic it is. I've seen and heard people rate the wedding just from what bottle they have on the tables, e.g., it's a good one. For example, sorry, it's a good wedding, they've got expensive whiskey. I've seen a number of fights, not to say alcohol causes them, but it certainly doesn't help them. At almost every one of these events, you can guarantee that one or more people will be drink driving home with people in their cars. It's glorified in the Punjabi music to a point where you can't go anywhere without hearing lyrics about alcohol, even if it's a little bit of the song. I have friends that have alcoholics within their families, and from what they've experienced and seen, have stayed sober till this day. When you see firsthand the trouble it causes in family environments, it really wakes you up. It's just sad to the point where I meet someone and they're like, oh, you're a Punjabi Sikh, you guys love a drink, don't you? You have some story about when they went to a party or wedding. Even when lads go out, there's a culture to buy big bottles in the club to show off, post on the stories. It's really toxic. Now, I'm no angel, I do drink myself. However, Punjabis that drink generally abuse it, and I would say I don't. I'm lucky to have friends around me that will call out my behaviour if they see me drinking more than I would and ask about my mental health. So that was from Mandeep. So I have to say, even though I don't have a lot of experiences with first-hand of alcoholism within the Punjabi community, because my own family don't actually drink, and I do have mates who drink, but they don't drink excessively either. But I will say that yeah, I have heard some of the things that Mandeep was talking about. I have heard myself as well. For example, if someone asks me where I'm from, and I say I'm Punjabi or I'm Sikh or something, they do tend to like make the relation between like, oh yeah, Punjabis do love to drink. I have heard that on a number of occasions from several different people actually, and I was kind of just like, oh, okay. And I was just like, well, not all of them do, and or just say, because I don't really know what to say. It's kind of a bit, it's not the best thing to hear when you're saying where you're from and the first person people think of is alcohol or anything else, like, or like, yeah, just drugs or something like that or anything else like that. But I mean, obviously, I do have people who have come up to me like, oh yeah, Sikhs are really helpful. Punjabis are really helpful. They always help each other out. They always help other people out, and it would be good if that was heard more than the fact that we, or the fact that Punjabi people in the community drink a lot. But yeah, so I've definitely, and I'm not trying to say this in a judgmental way as well. By the way, I'm not. I've said time and time again, I'm not one to judge other people for what they do. As I said, I've got mates who drink, but just because I don't and they do doesn't mean I'm sitting there like, oh, you drink? Really? Why? Because at the end of the day, that's other people's decisions, what they want to do in life. And the same with what Mandeep has said. If if I had any reason to think that they were overdoing it a lot all the time, then yeah, obviously I would say something and ask if they're okay as well. So it's kind of like you can't really, because at the end of the day, no one's perfect. No one, is faultless. Everyone has flaws. So everyone, yeah, everyone has their own reasons for what they do, and you can't really judge someone unless you're in. Well, you can't really judge anyone point blank, to be honest with you. We're not here to judge. We're here to like respect each other. We're here to be kind to one another. We're here to help one another. But yeah, so I'm just saying that obviously I've heard that before. And it's not the thing you want to kind of relate to Punjabis doing. You kind of want to hear the other thing where we do help one another, we do help others, or where that there's a lot of educated Punjabis or something like that. Something that's a bit more positive, because when you think about alcohol, you don't really tend to relate it to in a positive way anyway, especially in society. The glorifying in Punjabi music point, I understand that, because there's a lot of Punjabi songs that talk about, beg la ke, daru pee ke, all these things, and I don't know. Obviously, sometimes I wish there was like Punjabi rappers and Punjabi people who talked about things in society that are going on, and talked about more about issues and awareness. But I guess, I don't know, maybe they think their records wouldn't sell. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't know, if they didn't put something about drinking. It's just what they do. It's just what they sing about. But obviously, yeah, it can be harmful in the long term to the way people think about things, and think that it's a good thing to like overdrink and get drunk, and to a point where you don't even know what's happened the night before, or etc., and things like that. I mean, and have it happen, and I'm not even like a one-off thing, I mean like a continuous thing, like you're doing it all the time. That's when it's a real issue, um because then that's when it becomes a problem. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not the best thing, is it? Yes, I have heard of, also I've been to weddings where people have drunk, or there has been alcohol, excuse me, where there has been alcohol being served, and that's everyone's choice of what they want to do at their wedding. But I can't say though, I can't relate to Mandeep and say I've been to a wedding where this fight's been broken out or anything like that. Yeah, I don't remember anything like that, to be honest with you. Um, but yeah, but I do understand that it does happen. Obviously, from his experience, from other people's experiences as well, I'm sure it does happen, and it's not the best thing in the world. Obviously, a wedding is a place where everyone comes together and they're really happy, and the last thing you want to have is like a fight breaking out because someone's consumed a bit too much. Which is another issue in itself, because obviously then it's a thing with something which Dr. Manjot Singh will actually talk about a bit later, in regards to having limits and knowing your limits, and sort of everything is in moderation, and you can still have like, a good time without having to drink too much, or feeling like you have to go overboard in order to feel good or get that buzz, because I feel then it might be an issue, as in like sort of thinking you have to drink to be happy, and then that's with alcoholism, it does tend to derive from mental health and physical health issues. The next person to contribute to this podcast is a Kaur from social media. Obviously, for her own reasons, she did not want to discuss. Sorry, she did not want to say what her name was, which is perfectly okay. If you ever want to contribute to this podcast, I just want to let you know that you can be anonymous, and we will respect your wishes. So it's you don't. I feel like it's more about what the person is saying than who they are and what their name is. So obviously, yeah, just keep that in mind. It's also good to hear from a woman's perspective as well, because obviously we have we have male contributors on this episode, more than female, and that's not been purposely done either. As when I asked for contributors or when I got in touch with people, it was mainly males who wanted to contribute. And I tried to speak to some females, but they couldn't relate as much. Which I think maybe it's to do with statistics, and maybe because it's more to do with males being more inclined to have issues with alcoholism in the Punjabi community more than females, from what I've seen anyway, and maybe, as I said, maybe statistically that is the case as well. But as I said, it's good to hear from a woman's point of view and her experiences as well. So my father was a volatile and violent person, even without alcohol, but after consuming alcohol, it used to make him even bigger monster, just to do and get whatever he wanted. I have purposely suppressed a lot of memories, including such trauma that I have been involved with, but I want to share my experiences of how alcoholism has destroyed my childhood, hoping it could bring positive awareness and change to others. Every day from the age of 12, I used to go and buy my father alcohol for him, straight after school when I was finished. I looked much older than I actually was back then no one used to bother to confirm if I was underage or not. During the visits to the store, my father used to park outside while I did some shopping and getting the house essentials we needed. One of the days I forgot to buy the 8 cans of lager he used to drink every day. I got into the car and halfway home from my journey, my heart started to sink as I realised I'd forgotten to buy his alcohol. We got home and he used to go straight in his living room while I prepared his food and gave him his alcohol. As I brought all the shopping inside and went and gave him his food to eat, he said, "Go get my cans." I went into the kitchen and pretended to get his alcohol. I was taking too long, not knowing what to do, so then he came into the kitchen. My mother knew that it was time to hide in the bathroom because he was going to get violent. He goes, "Where is it then?" I whispered, "I forgot to buy it," but instead said, "I can go now and get it for you." I wasn't allowed to go outside by myself without one of my parents escorting me, so he starts shouting, "You want me to waste more money on petrol to drive you to the store again?" I could see the rage in his eyes and he was getting more and more angry. He turned around and grabbed the nearest thing to him, which was a metal hoover pipe, and started to beat me with it. Normally the rolling pin was what he used. He kept on hitting me, and at the point that I realised he was hitting just for the sake of hitting to get his frustration out and his anger out, I got to the point of my life that if he was going to beat me up, I wanted him to hit me that hard so he leads to some serious damage, because that way he might stop. So to make him more angry, I said, "Do you feel better after hitting me now?" He actually froze for a few seconds because he usually hears me say, "I'm sorry." He didn't expect this. Going to a Punjabi wedding was another time that used to scare me. We weren't allowed to know our extended family, but once in a while, when he was in a good mood, we were allowed to a family wedding. However, it was like playing Russian roulette with our lives. My father used to drink as much as he wanted and then get in the driving seat and drive for a couple of hours. Wow, it's a lot to take in, I have to say. And it's just, you can see the extent of what some people have gone through because of alcoholism. And even if it's not been themselves who've been consuming it, obviously it can have detrimental effects on other people in that person's life. For example, her father was the one who was an alcoholic, but the results of it were taken out on her and her family. So it was, yeah, it's a very hard thing to hear, but at the end of the day, it's the truth. It's what has happened in her life, and it's to raise awareness about what the extreme effects of alcoholism can do, other than actually death, but also, your family suffering for it, your friends end up suffering for it, and being in such a state due to alcoholism that they don't even realize what they're doing to their family, and or they're so just so consumed by it they don't even think, oh, hang on a minute, this might be wrong. As for example, when she said that he froze because he usually expected her to say sorry, but he didn't expect her to say, oh, does it make you feel better after hitting me? So yeah, I mean, or some people do realize as well, and they just still carry on because they want to carry on with drinking. This is a clearly a case also of like alcoholism and domestic violence as well, both in one. So I want to thank you for this call because she's very brave for contributing to this podcast and sharing her story with us. And also very sorry for everything she's gone through. Obviously, I understand it's not my fault, but obviously I still want to say, you deserved better. You deserve to be treated, but you deserve to be treated better than what you went through. But yes. So now we have Dr. Manjot Singh on the show, who will be talking about statistics and also alcohol consumption, what it can do to a person, and just from a sort of NHS and doctor's point of view as well, in terms of the things that can happen, and yeah, just giving a few load just so we can hear from a health professional as well.
Hi, my name is Manjot Singh, and I'm currently a junior doctor working in the West Midlands. And I just wanted to give some of my thoughts regarding alcohol abuse, especially within the Punjabi community, but also a bit about the medical side of alcohol use, alcohol dependence, and alcohol disorders in general. When it comes to Punjabis, I feel like pretty much every single Punjabi either has a relative or a close friend or someone that they know well that is impacted by alcohol in a negative way, or has some sort of alcohol use disorder. So the recommended maximum intake of alcohol is 14 units per week for both males and females. But roughly 25% of males and 15% of females drink over the recommended level in the UK. And alcohol dependence itself affects around 4% of people between the ages of 16 and 65 in England. So alcohol abuse and alcohol use disorders are really, really common, not just in the Punjabi community, but society as a whole. So there are certain risk factors which make you more likely to suffer from alcohol abuse and alcohol use disorders. One of which is being of the male gender. So men are statistically more likely to suffer from these kind of disorders. Another thing is being a younger adult. So around 16% of 18 to 29-year-olds suffer from alcohol use disorders, and around 10% of 30 to 44-year-olds do. Interestingly, genetics also seem to play a role. So studies show that there's an increased risk of dependence in relatives of those affected by alcohol use problems. Other things that are linked with alcohol abuse are antisocial behavior and certain life stresses. So things like financial problems, marital issues, and certain occupations can all increase the risk of alcohol use disorders. There's a very useful questionnaire that healthcare professionals often use as a screening tool for alcohol dependence. It's called the CAGE questionnaire, and so it consists of 4 different questions. And if someone answers yes to any of these questions, then they have a problem with alcohol. So the questions are: the first one is, have you ever felt you should cut down on your drinking? Have people annoyed you by criticizing your drinking? Have you ever felt guilty about your drinking? And lastly, do you ever have a drink early in the morning to steady your nerves or wake you up? So this is a questionnaire or screening tool that we often use in healthcare to identify people who likely have a problem with alcohol use. And if anyone answers yes to any of these questions, then they most likely have a problem and they most likely need further support and should seek, professional help. I think when it often comes to drinking alcohol within the Punjabi community, but also society in general, a lot of people don't kind of appreciate the full extent of problems that alcohol can cause, both mentally, socially, and physically to their bodies. So there are many medical issues and problems that alcohol is proven to either contribute to or cause directly itself. So just to give some examples, just in terms of the liver itself, it can cause hepatitis, cirrhosis, which is pretty much irreversible, and hepatocellular carcinoma, so cancer of the liver. In terms of the heart, alcohol is related to high blood pressure, cardiomyopathy, and it can cause irregular heartbeats. Neurologically, it can directly cause seizures, it can cause neuropathies, it can cause degeneration of certain parts of your brain, leading to loss of function. It can cause psychosis and also certain conditions called Korsakoff's and Wernicke's encephalopathy, which are terrible conditions which you can look up if you're interested. In terms of psychiatric issues, alcohol use is associated with self-harm and suicide, so there's a strong association. It's associated with mood disorders like depression, anxiety disorders. It can also cause alcohol-related dementia, and also something called alcoholic hallucinosis, in which people have hallucinations related to their alcohol use. Socially, alcohol use is strongly associated with domestic violence. So in households where there is alcohol use, in many cases, domestic violence also tends to coexist. Drink driving is a major issue in those that abuse alcohol. Other things like employment difficulties, financial problems, homelessness, accidents, relationship problems are all associated with alcohol use disorders and alcohol abuse. So if there's anyone that's suffering with alcohol use, or you know someone who is suffering with alcohol use, whether it's a family member, a close friend, what I would recommend and strongly urge you to do is to seek help. Go see your GP and try and get professional help, because there is a lot out there which can help people with these problems. There are lots of groups out there like Alcoholics Anonymous, where like-minded people suffering similar sorts of problems can get together and discuss these issues. There's medication which is available, which can be used in certain cases. There's counseling, which is available as well. So there's lots of management options. There's lots of things out there to help and support people who are suffering from these problems. So I'd urge anyone who is having trouble with alcohol or knows someone having problems with alcohol to go out and seek professional help. And that can often be the hardest step to take. And I feel like for people just generally, it's important that we empathize with people who are having these sorts of problems, recognizing that it is often an addiction, and the people who are suffering are often no longer in control of the.
So I just want to thank the people who have contributed on today's podcast. So I want to thank the Singh from the pre-cap that I did at the beginning from the last two episodes, who giving his own experience and feedback. I want to thank Sanjiv Singh Johal for giving his experiences of alcoholism in the Punjabi community. The fellow Kaur who gave her own experience and was very brave in doing so as well. Also want to thank Mandeep for giving his experience, and of course Dr. Manjot Singh for giving his health as a health professional, his views and also his advice on alcoholism in the Punjabi community and how to tackle it. Thank you. Thanks for listening to OKG, guys. If you want to follow me, like and subscribe out on YouTube, and also it's okgpodcast@gmail.com if you want to email me or send in your recordings to get involved in the discussions. Thank you. Bye.